Hare Krishna. Today we are going to revise chapter number 5 of Jaiv Dharm. And before we do that, let's do some Shri Guru Pranam. Om Agyantimrandasya Gyananjan Shalakya Chakshurun Milintam Yen Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tanvat Pranam. Before we go on to chapter number 5, let's recapitulate as to what we understood in chapter number 4. So, chapter number 4, as you may be knowing, is titled Vaishnav Dharm is Nitya Dharm. And we learned over there, the chapter started with the snake bite and the fear which a Vaishnav should not have at all while doing bhakti. And then only he will be able to elevate in bhakti. So, through the example of snake, Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave the message of no fear in the heart while doing bhakti. And then there was a question by Lahiri Mashaji, and it was replied by Shri Vaishnav Das. And the main learning from chapter number 4 was that Shuddh Vaishnav Dharm, it was explained, and there are 4 dimensions to the ras of serving Bhagwanji, and these are in the Dasya's mood, Sakhya mood, Vatsalya mood, or Madhurya mood, or the mood of being a servant, the mood of being a friend, the mood of being a parental, and the mood of conjugal love. So this was what we learned, and then we also learned that there is adulterated Vaishnav Dharma also, and this is adulterated Vaishnav Dharma is cancelled or is overcome by Gyan and going under the Sharan of or under the blessings of a Gurudev. And then the main learnings in this particular chapter was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's 3 fundamental principles in Vaishnav Dharma, and these were Sambandha Tattva, Abhidheya Tattva, and the Prayojan. Sambandha Tattva, main learning was that Sambandha Tattva or association with Bhagwan comprises Ishvara's relation with Jivas. The relationship of Jivas and the material world with Ishvara, and the relationship of Ishvara and the Jivas with matter. I repeat, Sambandha Tattva comprises Ishvara's relation with Jivas, the relationship of Jivas and material world with Ishvara, and the relationship of Ishvara and Jivas with matter. One who does not understand this Sambandh or association with Bhagwan, he cannot become a pure Vaishnav by any means. So this was the main learning in Sambandha Tattva. And in Abhidheya Tattva, or the process of Bhakti, Shri Bhakti Vinod Thakurji took the help of Shri Rupa Goswami book, and there we read that he had given about 9 main processes in which we can practice sadhana or bhakti. And this is the 3 stages of bhakti, which he explained: the sadhana, the bhav, and ultimately the prem. So this is the abhidheya tattva, the process of doing bhakti. The first is the sadhana, preferably under the guidance of a guru, and then the bhav will arise within you, and ultimately when the bhav or the love for divine, for divinity, when that gets mature, it will convert, the bhav will convert into prem, and that is the ultimate prayojan or the goal of bhakti. So Krishna prem is our ultimate aim, and we also learned that Krishna can be controlled only by prem. And lastly, in the chapter, it was explained that there is nothing except Guru who rescues one from the material world. I repeat, the last learning of this chapter was that there is nothing except Gurudev, who can rescue us from this material world. So we must take the blessings and go to his Sharan and for guidance to so that we can escape from this material world, which is very, very uh, essential, and it is very much negativity will be brought to us. We will not be able to progress in bhakti at all in case we keep on entangled ourselves in material world, and only Guru Dev can take us out of that. So that was the main learning in chapter number 4. Now, going further in chapter number 5, the chapter number 5 is titled Vedi Bhakti is Nitya, not Namikta Dharma. I repeat, Vedi Bhakti is Nitya or permanent, and it is not circumstantial, it is not Namikta Dharma. The chapter starts with Lahiri Mashe residence in Shantipura. The scene is over there in Shantipura. Lahiri Mashe, he had a residence in Shantipura, and he had two sons named Chandranath, who was about 35 years at that time, and he was very much learned in zamindari work, and he did all the administration works of the zamindari or the landlord's work in the house. And then the second son was Devidas, who was the younger son uh, of Lahiri Mashe, and he was very much learned and educated, and he had the title of Vidyaratan. He also had a school or a college running in front of his house, where about 15 students they took education from Devidasas in various grammar and education of bhakti, progress towards that. So Devidas was very much a learned person, very much into shastras he had studied also. And the third member of the family was the mother of Chandranath and Devidas, or the wife of Lahiri Mashaji. And all these three one day learned that Lahiri Mashaji had become a Vaishnav. And when the news reached Shantipur about Lahiri Mashe becoming a Vaishnav in Godurma, where he had gone, and this was not taken in good spirit in Shantipura. So people in the Shantipura, in the marketplaces, in the ghat or the river shore, or even the streets, they all talked ill about Lahiri Mashe, who had become a Vaishnav, because there was no shortage of any money, there was no shortage of any comfort, and all the facilities were available to the Lahiri Mashe, and he had a beautiful and very obedient family also. But somehow it was not taken in good spirit in Shantipura by the people of Shantipura. So when the family Chandranath and Devidas and their mother, they received this news, they become very much angry, they become very much confused, and they didn't know what to do. And then they finally decided that Devidas, the younger son, will go to Godurma and bring back Lahiri Mashaji to Shantipura, back home, so that their prestige and their were not insulted by the residents of Shantipura. So, but when this was decided, then Devidas told his family member that his father does not think good about himself, and their father thinks that Devidas is an atheist and he will not listen to him at all. And there is no chance that Devidas, when he requests his father to return back to Shantipura, he will agree. So what they did, they took the help of their maternal cousin named Shambhunath. Shambhunath was in the good eyes of Lahiri Mashaji, and he agreed, or they took him along. So both Devidas and Shambhunath, they went to Godurma, and being rich people, being landlords, being jamindars, they also took one cook, and two servants along with them to take care of their personal needs while they were in Godurma. They were residing over there. So with this scene, the scene now goes from Shantipura to Godurma. So on a day when Devidas and Shambhunath reached Godurma, they approached their father, Devidas' father, Lahiri Mashe, and requested him to return back. But Lahiri Mashaji refused to return back. He says, I get very good sadhu sang in Godurma, where I am presently residing for the last few months. I will not get sadhu sang in Shantipura. There, the people are godless people. They do not believe in God. They speak blasphemy of Vaishnavas. They do not get along well with the Vaishnavas. They speak ill about them. And they use very bad words also. So it is not possible for him to return back amongst those people of the people of Shantipur who are godless people. To this, Devidas replies, Father, why do you bother? Why do you bother about the Shantipur people? We have enough facilities over there. You stay in one corner of the village. You have all the facilities. You have a separate house. You have a separate room, and the servants, etc. All facilities are there. And you do your religious practices over there, aloof from these Shantipura's people. And you can do your Sandhya Vandana, and Sandhya Vandana is a Nitya Dharma, and you can follow your Nitya Dharma or your Sandhya Vandana and be aloof from all these people. When Devidas mentioned that Sandhya Vandana is Nitya Dharma from Devidas, Lahiri Macha then replied, what you refer to Nitya Dharma is actually Namikta Dharma. It is not permanent Dharma. Sandhya Vandana is not permanent, it's not Nitya. It is Namikta, it is consequential. The only Nitya Dharma is the Hari Bhakti. And Hari Bhakti is missing in Shantipura. Sandhya Vandana is Namikta Dharma. It is not Nitya Dharma. Sandhya Vandana is Karam Kand and not Vedi Bhakti. And this was further elaborated by Lahiri Mashaji. So allow me to go through it in detail about the Sandhya Vandana and the Karam Kand, what Lahiri Mashaji explains. So he explains, Lahiri Mashaji, that the Sandhya Vandana that is included in Karam Kand is significantly different from Vedi Bhakti. Sandhya Vandana and other such activities are performed in the Karam Kand system in order to obtain liberation. Now, let me tell you in detail what is Karam Kand, what is the meaning of Karam Kand, so that we understand we are on the common platform and so that we understand the what is Karam Kand. Karam Kand are the daily rituals which are prescribed in our Shastras, of course, to achieve liberation. It is not direct bhakti, it is indirect bhakti, it is associated with the bhakti, of course. So it is Namikta Dharma. The Karam Kand activities are like dressing yourself up, having food, taking a bath, then doing a prasad to Agman to Bhagwanji, and then doing all the festivals and the rituals like this, all the uh, when person dies in the family, all the rituals that are done, all these are part of the Karam Kand which a person is supposed to do and which is directed by our Shastra. Of course, they are as per the uh, guidelines given in our Shastra, but they are to achieve liberation. So therefore, they are termed as Karam Kand. Okay. The further Lahiri Mashaji says, the Shastras describe the results of hearing, chanting, and other limbs of Vedic Bhakti. But this is just to interest people who would otherwise not be inclined towards performing these activities. The worship of Shri Bhakti has no fruit other than the service of Shri Hari. When you do all these activities only to do Hari Bhakti, then that is Nitya Dharma. The principal fruit of the practice of Vedic Bhakti is to bring about the awakening of Prem in Hari Bhajan. Right? When you are doing Bhakti to achieve Prem, that is the Shuddha Nitya Bhakti. So this is what Lahiri Mashaji is saying. Then further Lahiri Mashaji, in reply to a question, says the results on the different types of practitioner, whatever bhakti he is doing, or the sadhaka, it all depends upon what type of practice he is doing, what type of sadhak he is doing. The Vaishnav perform sadhana bhakti for the sole purpose of coming to the perfectional stage of devotion known as Siddha Bhakti. Whereas non-Vaishnav perform the very same stages of bhakti, they have two principal motives: the desire for material enjoyment or bhog, and the desire for liberation or the moksha. So there is a difference in the aim and the purpose of doing bhakti by a Vaishnav and a non-Vaishnav. A Vaishnav does bhakti to achieve Siddha Bhakti, whereas a non-Vaishnav does bhakti to achieve moksha or liberation, or to bhog, or to for material things. So this is the difference between the nishtha or the faith or the purpose with which a person is doing bhakti. So nishtha is very important. That is the difference between a Vaishnav and a non-Vaishnav. Further, the learning is spiritually awake and spiritually unconscious people. Bhakti Vinod Thakurji through Lahiri Mashaji explains us the difference between spiritually awake person and a spiritually unconscious person. The people who are spiritually unconscious, but they believe in God, they get elevated when they are blessed with the company of a sadhu or the Gurudev. So please remember always, the spiritually unconscious people, they get elevated by the blessings of sadhu in their company. Right? Then further Lahiri Mashaji explains that there are three types of shastras: Satvik Shastra, Rajasic Shastra, and Tamasic Shastra. Satvik Shastras are about good things, Rajasic Shastra are about passionate things, and Tamasic Shastras are about ignorant things. So it all depends upon the type of the person who is doing and reading or following the Shastra. A good person will always go in for Satvik Shastra. A person who is engaged in material gains all the time, he wants more and more, he will be interested in the Rasic Shastras. And the person who is ignorant and doing all the bad activities as per the our Shastras or ignorance, I mean, he will be interested in the Tamasic Shastras. Okay. So going further, then there's a little bit of more details where Larry Mashaji speaks about these things. And this is says, he says, human beings have different natures and fates according to their different levels of adhikar or eligibility. People who are impelled primarily by the mode of ignorance have natural faith in the Tamasic Shastras, the ignorant people. And the as one faithfully carries out the duties for which one has the adhikar or eligibility, he may come into contact with sadhus and develop a higher adhikar or eligibility through their association. So there is Tamasic Shastra, And there is then Rasic Shastra. Those affected primarily by the mode of passion have natural faith in the Rasic Shastras. Okay. But those in the mode of goodness, they naturally have faith in Sattvic Shastras. So here sadhus play a very important part. So in case the people who are studying the Rasic Shastras or the people who are studying the Tamasic Shastras, if they come across sadhus and take their blessings, then they can be elevated to read these Sattvic Shastras. So this is according to one's eligibility and of course past karmas, that you will get the association of devotees, Vaishnavas and sadhus. It all depends upon your previous karmas and your blessed life, what you have been doing. Further, Larry Marshe says, faith in the Shastra is the root of all auspiciousness. And then, very important quote is given from Srimad Bhagavatam. It says, an intelligent person will take the essence of all the Shastras, whether they are great or small, just as a bumblebee gathers honey from many different types of flowers. Okay. So with this conversation and discussion between father and son so far, then Devidas asks his father, Father, you are talking very much sense now. You are talking very much towards bhakti, which I have been longing for quite some time. Are you by any chance taking any guidance of Shastras from any senior devotee or any senior Vaishnav to this? Lahiri Masha says, yes, I am blessed. Adjacent to my hut or my kutir, there is a kutir or hut of my Gurudev, the Vaishnav Das Guru, and then Lahiri Masha ji takes his son Devidas to Vaishnav Das, his Guru, and then he himself withdraws himself and he goes back to his hut and leaves Devidas under the shelter of uh, Vaishnav Das, his guru, Lahiri Masha's guru, for some time. Then the discussion starts about bhakti between Vaishnav Das and Devi Das. So Vaishnav Das asks Devi Das, please give me a sample of what you have learned. To this Devi Das says, the cessation of all material misery is mukti. Very important to understand. Please, I repeat again, the cessation or the stoppage or the cessation of all material miseries is mukti. And he says this is what is mentioned by Kapil Muni in his philosophy, in his book called Sankhya Darshan. So in the Sankhya Darshan, Kapil Muni talks in detail about cessation of all material miseries, and that is cessation of how to get mukti. He speaks in his thoughts in the book called Sankhya Darshan. Sankhya means knowledge, and this Sankhya Darshan describes how the Purusha or the Jiva gets mukti or moksha with the help of complete knowledge of Prakriti or material things and Paramatma. So, this Sankhya Darshan book or Granth, it describes how the Purush or the Jeev gets mukti or moksha with the help of complete knowledge of Prakriti and Paramatma. And Devidas says, I am seeking that liberation or mukti through Swadharma as per Varna Ashram. Varna Ashram, as we all know, there are four Varna and there are four uh, ashrams, four Varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and four ashrams are Brahmacharya, Grahasth, Vanprasth, and Sannyas. So Devidas says, I am seeking that mukti, I am seeking that liberation with the help of Swadharma or by following Varna ashram. To this reply given by Devidas, Vaishnavdas gets a little bit of impressed and then asks further as to what is mukti. Vaishnavdas asks Devidas, what do you understand by mukti? And this is to be understood in a little bit in detail. And is I will just read out the reply of Devidas in reply to a question by Vaishnav Das as to what is mukti. Devidas says, according to the Nyaya Shastra, the Jeev and the Brahman are eternally distinct from each other. So it is not clear from the point of view of Nyaya how the cessation of all the miseries can take place. According to the Vedanta, however, mukti refers to the attainment of non differentiated Brahma, or in other words, the Jiva's attainment of the state of oneness with Brahma. This is clear from one point of view. So, this is a Shankaracharya's views or philosophy, which is negated or not liked or not approved by Vaishnav Das. Is this that oneness or monolist philosophy of Shankaracharya is against the Vedanta philosophy and it is not to be discussed. And our seniors and our acharyas, they have requested not to be discussed whenever we are discussing about Vaishnavism or whenever we are discussing about Vedanta. So it is mentioned by Vaishnav Das that Jagat Guru Shri Rup Goswami has specifically forbidden the Vaishnav to read or hear anything about Shankaracharya's Saririka Bhasya or commentary on Vedanta. So Larry Maharaj says, or sorry, Vedant Vaishnav Das says, I no longer read it myself or teach it to others. However, Sri Sachidanand, who is the original preceptor of the entire world, explained the true commentary on Vedanta Sutra to Sri Sarvabhuma. Many Vaishnavas still have handwritten copies of that commentary. Vaishnav Das tells to Devidas, if you want to study it, you can take a copy and I can help you to understand it. You may ask for a copy of this thing from the house of Srimad Kavi Karnapura in the village of Kanchanpalli. So this interests Devidas and he wants to learn about Vedanta from the guru of his father, that is Vaishnav Das, and he requests him that please be merciful and teach me about Vedanta. And this route or path is then shown by Vaishnav Das. And finally, he says the doctrine or the philosophy given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the ultimate and the most superior, and there is no other commentary in the world which represents superiority as compared to what Mahaprabhu has written or what Mahaprabhu has spread the message around. And it is the full import of all the Upanishads also. And if one presents this explanation of the sutras in proper sequence, it is certain that his explanation will be respected in any assembly of learned scholars. So whatever Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught, that is the most superior one and it will be respected in any assembly of learned scholars. So with this, the discussion between Vaishnav Das and Devi Das comes to an end, and Devi Das then prostrates, takes blessings from Vaishnav Das, and returns back to his father. And father then is very much pleased that he had a discussion with his guru Vaishnav Das, and he asks as to what has transpired between the two. And Devi Das then explains what all question answers or discussions took place between Vaishnav Das and Devi Das. And father was blessed that Devi Das is now in the right direction. So Devidas then comes back to the original purpose of his coming to Godurma, to take back his father to Shantipura, to their original home, to their original village, where there is jamindari, there are enough land, there is enough agriculture, there are enough funds and finances, enough servants, every facility is there. And of course, they have a lot of respect over there. By Lahiri Mashas becoming a Vaishnavi Godurma, that respect has been jeopardized or it has been tainted, and therefore Devidas wants him to return back. Then little bit more discussion takes place between Devidas and his father, Larry Mashe. So that discussion is also a little bit interesting, and it will also open our eyes and increase our knowledge about Vaishnavism. And let's understand the discussion between father and son once again after uh, Devidas had returned back from Vaishnav Das. So Devidas then asked his father, Father, we worship the Lord or Bhagwanji, and we do not respect any chanting of Harinam, and we receive guests and Vaishnav very cordially. Are we not Vaishnavas? This is what we are doing in Shantipura. So are we not Vaishnav? You say that you will return back only when we people, that is Devidas, his brother and his mother, they become Vaishnav. To this, Devidas then asks him, we are already Vaishnavas. We do not respect anybody who's taking Harinam. We welcome all the guests. We welcome all the Vaishnavas. We very cordially treat them. Then why are we not Vaishnav? We are Vaishnavas. And to this, Lahiri Mashe says, no, you are not Vaishnavas. You're doing activities like Vaishnavas, but you are not Vaishnavas. So that there is a very interesting learning, and allow me to read that out for you. And it goes like this. Lahiri Mashe says, your activities are very similar to that of the Vaishnavas, but you are not actually Vaishnav. Then Devidas says, then how can one become a Vaishnav? And Larry Masha then explains in detail. Very interesting part and very much important for us beginners who are in the sadhana of bhakti. And Larry Masha says you can become a Vaishnav by giving up your temporary Namikta duties and adopting your eternal spiritual dharma. He says, I also needed a very long time to understand this point. Try to understand this very carefully. Larry Marshall further says there are two types of human beings, those whose interests are connected with this material world or ahika, and those who aspire for superior attainments in the future, param arthika. Those in the first category, that is superior people who are seeking an interest in the material world, those in the first category only strive for material happiness, reputation, and material prosperity. Those in the second category, those who are seeking attainments in the future of Param Artika, they are of further three types. Those who are devoted to Ishvara or Isanukta, those who are fixed in the pursuit of monistic knowledge aiming at liberation or Gyan Nishtha, and those who cover mystic powers or Siddhi Kami. So here Lahiri Mashaji says there are two types of human beings, one who are connected with the material world and those who are aspiring for superior attainments of the future, Paramarthika. And the people who are seeking and aspiring for superior attainments in the future of Paramarthika are further of three types. The people who are devoted to Ishvara or Isanukta, and those who are fixed in the monistic knowledge aiming at liberation or Gyan Nishtha, and finally, those who are seeking mystic powers, or they are known as Siddhi Kamini. Siddhi Kamini people. The Siddhi Kamis are attached to the fruits of Karma Kand, what we learned, the daily rituals of dressing and doing arti, doing then eating only after the food has been offered to Bhagwanji, eating only prasad, then taking a bath, then doing rituals, then observing the festivals and other important days and doing shrad of the parents. All these are karma kand, which are aiming to obtain liberation. So Siddhi Kamis are attached to the fruits of karma kand and they desire to obtain supernatural powers by the performance of such karmas. Okay, the Gyan Nishthas try to awaken their identity with Brahma by cultivating impersonal monistic knowledge that God does not have any shape, he is formless, nirvishesh, featureless Brahma. They don't know or care whether Ishvara exists or not, the Gyan Nishtha people, but they fabricate an imaginary form of Ishvara anyway for the purpose of practicing sadhana. The fruit of such monistic knowledge is realizing one's identity with Brahma, and the monists aspire to attain this eventually by constantly engaging themselves in the practice of bhakti directed towards their imaginary form of Ishvara. Right. So this is about Gyan Nishtha, and then we learn little bit about the Isanuktas, those who are devoted to Ishvara, and they are the third category of people who seek higher attainments in the future or Paramarthikas. So Isanuktas are the factually speaking only ones who strive for Paramatma, the highest goal of life. In their opinion, there is only one Ishwar who is without beginning or end and who manifests the jivas and the material world by his own potencies. Those who seek mystic powers or siddhi kamis, they follow karmakand, and those who cultivate monistic knowledge or jnana nishtha, they follow jnana kand. The Ishanuktas are the only devotees of Ishwar. The Gyan Kandis and Karm Kandis, they pride themselves on being interested in higher attainment, that is Paramarthika. But in reality, they are not pursuing the highest goal, but seeking temporary material gain. And whatever they say about Dharma is all Namikta. Then Lahiri Maharaj further gives the example of the Vaishnavism. He takes the example of the people who are worship nowadays Shivji, Durgaji, Ganesha, and Surya. They are all Gyan Kandis. They adopt the angas of bhakti such as Sarvana and Kirtan only to attain mukti or liberation. And ultimately, the undifferentiated, impersonal, nirvishesh Brahma. The people who are following Shivji or Durgaji or Ganeshji or Suryaji, Larry Mashashi says, they are all following impersonal Nirvishesh Brahma. Those who engage in these such things, they are not following bhakti or mukti for attaining bhakti. The ultimate aim is to worship Vishnu Bhagwanji so that we can achieve unadulterated bhakti. That is the ultimate aim. That is the pure form. That is the Shuddha form of following Vishnu Bhagwanji without any desire for material things, without any desire for seeking liberation or mukti. Okay. Then Bhagwanji goes for Lahiri Mashaji goes further to explain the Murti Puja. The Devidas had also objected to the purpose of doing Murti Puja or the deities in the temples. Even those things are made up of material things. Why do these Vaishnavas then go over there? To this, Larry Marshall then explains and clears the doubt of Devidas, and we will also learn something in this mode from the discussion between father and son, Lahiri Mashaji and Devidas. So, what Lahiri Mashaji explains to Devidas, to his son, is that there is Sachidanand Bhagwanji living within us as Paramatma. And the same Sachidanand Paramatma is there within the deity. So, the life of Bhagwanji is evoked in the Murti by doing certain ceremonies and puja. So there is Sachidanand Bhagwanji living in the Murti also. So when a true Vaishnav goes to the temple in front of the deity or in front of the Murti, the Sachidanand Bhagwan living inside the body of the Jeev or the Vaishnav, it makes a connection between the Sachidanand Bhagwanji living in that deity or Murti. The two get connected to each other, and that is real association. That is the real bhakti and the purpose of doing worshipping of the deity or the Murti. So the Sachinanand Bhagwanji living inside the body of the Vaishnav and the Sachinanand Bhagwanji living inside the deity, they connect with each other, and then that is the true purpose of doing Murti Puja and going to the temple. Whereas a non-Vaishnav goes to the mandir or to the deity, he just consider it as made up of stone or marble or wood or any other material thing. He does not realize the Sachidanand relationship within the body and that within the deity. He just considers it as a material part. So that is the purpose of doing Murti Puja by a Vaishnav and a non-Vaishnav. So the discussion between the two then comes to an end, and more little bit are taking place between Lahiri and Masha and his son. Little bit more I will tell you. So what they conclude is that by returning back to Shantipura, Lahiri Masha is not going to be amongst the Vaishnavas, and therefore he prefers to stay in the Godurma only. So discussion for somehow comes to an end, and it will be discussed further. So on that particular day, the discussion ended over there, and Devidas and his cousin Shambhunath, they went back to their accommodation which they had taken on rent in Godurma, and where they were staying with the help of their cook and the two servants. So they comfortably stayed over there, and they went back, and Larry Mashaji went back to his own hut and started doing his own job. On the subsequent day, then the scene goes to the house of Paramhans Babaji, to the kutir of, or to the hut of Paramhans Babaji. There was an assembly of all the Vaishnav, and they were doing kirtan. And then towards the end of the session on that particular day, Kazi comes in. Qazi is a descendant of the Chand Ghazi, who was the associate of Muslim associate of Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this Qazi was the great great grandson of the Chand Ghazi, the Muslim who was associate of Mahaprabhuji, Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji. So Qazi comes over there and he exchanges greetings with all the Vaishnavas living over there. And Paramans Babaji also gives them all the respect because he was a descendant of Chand Ghazi, who was a very beloved associate of Mahaprabhuji. So Qazi then takes a seat over there and then listens to the discussions which are going over there. And then Larry Mahashaji, he asks him certain questions because Larry Mahashaji was a learned scholar. He was a learned scholar in Farsi language and he had studied the 30 Safiras of the Quran also and many books of the Sufis. So Larry Masha was very much familiar with the Muslim way of living. So he asked 5 questions towards the end of this chapter. He asks 5 chapters from Qazi, and I will just share it with you. So, first question Qazi uh, is asked from by Lahiri Mashaji. The first question is, according to your ideology, what is meant by mukti? To this, Qazi replies, what you people refer to as Jiv, the individual soul, we call it as Ruhu. The Ruhu is found in 2 conditions, Ruh Muzarrat, the conscious or liberated soul, and Ruh Tarkibi, the conditioned soul. What you refer to as spirit, Chit, we call Muzarrat, and what you refer to as matter or Achit, we call it Jism. Okay. Muzarrat is beyond the limitations of time and space, which is a superior thing, Muzarrat. Whereas Jism or the body is subordinate to time and space. It perishes with time. The Ruh Tarkibi or Badjiv has a material mind and is full of ignorance and desires. The Ruh Muzarrat are pure and aloof from all these circumstances and contaminations, and they reside in the spiritual abode which is known as Alam al Mashal. So, meaning in nutshell, Ruh Muzarrat is superior and Ruh Tarkibi is inferior, and that is when person is in Muzarrat or Ruh Muzarrat, then he is liberated because he is in touch with the his Khuda or Bhagwan in their philosophy, and that is why they follow and prefer Muzarrat as superior. So Qazi further says the Ruh becomes pure through the gradual development of Ishq or Prem with the Khuda. There is no influence of Jism or matter in that abode where Khuda or God brought the Prophet Paigambar Sahib. Yet even there the Ruh remains as a servitor or Banda and the Lord is the master. Therefore, the relationship between Banda and Khuda is eternal, and Mukti is actually the attainment of this relationship in the pure form. So, this is the answer to the first question. The second question by Lahiri Mashaji is to Qazi, what is the primary teaching of the Quran? To this, Qazi replies, according to the Quran, the Lord's personal abode, which is the highest attainment in the spiritual world, is known as Behest. It is a fact that there is no formal worship there, yet life itself is worship or ibadah. The residents of that abode are immersed in transcendental bliss simply by seeing the Lord. This is a very same teaching that was presented by Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Chand Kazi. The third question now. Larry Marshalls asked Qazi, does the Quran accept that the Lord has a transcendental form? To this, Qazi replies, the Quran states that the Lord has no form. But Shri Mahaprabhuji told Chand Qazi that this teaching of the Quran means that the Lord cannot have a material form. But it does not mean that he does not have any existence. He has his existence in the spiritual form, but not in the material form. Very important part. So Qazi says, Paigambar Sahib saw the divine loving form of the Lord in according to his level of eligibility or adhikar. The transcendental moods and sentimentals that are characteristics of other rasas remained hidden from Paigambar Sahib. He could see Khuda only to the limited extent according to his eligibility. So that is the reply to the question. Does the Quran accept the Lord has a transcendental form? It does not have a material form, but it has a spiritual form. And their Paigambar saw to it only to a limited extent according to his eligibility. Now comes the fourth question. What is the opinion of the Sufis in this regard? So Qazi replies, they adhere to the doctrine of Anal Haq, which means I am Khuda. The Sufi doctrine of Islam is similar to the Advaitavad doctrine or Shankaracharya's monistic philosophy of I am Brahma. So there is a similarity between the two. The what Sufis believe in and what the monistic I am Brahma people believe in. So that is the reply to the question, what do the Sufis believe in? And last question, uh, are you a Sufi? Lahiri Masha asks Qazi, meaning, do you believe that there is a monistic relationship or I am Brahma relationship with the Khuda? So to this, Qazi replies, no, we are unadulterated devotees and we are blessed to be associated with and descendants of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So with this, the chapter comes to an end and the discussion of Chand Ghazi and Lahiri Mashe amongst the association of Vaishnavas also comes to an end and it will continue in subsequent chapters. So thank you very much. So what we have learned in this particular chapter number 5 is that Vedic Bhakti is Nitya Bhakti. It is not Namikta Dharma. So thank you very much for being with me. We shall continue. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.